So we're going to combine like terms by finding a common denominator. Our common denominator is going to be 12. All right, so what I want to do in order to turn each of these into having a denominator of 12, I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 3. And that's going to give me 21/12 y plus multiply this top and bottom by 4 to give me a 12. So I'm going to have 8/12 y. So I'm going to add these two things together. So 21 plus 8 is 29. Y. All right, so we're going to simplify. We need to combine the like terms, and in order to combine like terms, we need a common denominator. So our common denominator is 15. So to turn this into a 15, I'm going to multiply both by 3. And here I'm going to multiply by 5. So I have 6/15 x minus 5/15 x. So 6 minus 5 is 1/15 x. So we're just combining the fractions and the x's just sort of hang out. Okay, so it would say this. So then what you do is you put the 5 in where the x is. Well, 15 does not go into 5. This is the same thing as 1/15 times 5 over 1. And I can cross cancel, correct? So that would give me 1/3. So you just multiply them.
5, 10, 15.
Okay, so we get our common denominator, which is 15. So I'm going to multiply these by 5, and I'm going to multiply these by 3. So this is going to give me 10/15 minus 6/15. So I subtract and I get 4/15. Oh, wait, there's supposed to be x's here. Sorry. Okay, so we have equations that will contain fractions. You use the same steps as if it did not contain fractions. So if we have x minus 3/10 is equal to 9/20. I'm going to want to add 3/10 to both sides to get rid of that minus 3/10. Because we always want to do the opposite. But I can't add 9/20 and 3/10 without making some changes and giving it a common denominator. Okay. In this case, my common denominator is going to be 20. So I'm going to multiply each of these by 2. So x would equal 6, whoops, sorry, getting ahead of myself, 9/20 plus 6/20, which means x is going to be 15/20, which I can then reduce. So they'll both divide by 5. Question?
No.
Oh, okay. Do that, we can clear the fractions. And in order to clear the fractions, we're going to multiply everything by the common denominator.
I have to go. I have to go.
So,
So our common denominator is going to be 20, right? So I'm going to multiply everything times 20. Okay. And the reason I'm doing that is because denominators divide. Okay, so we're going to divide by the denominator and then multiply by the numerator. Well, in our first 20 times x, that's just 20x. That one's fairly straightforward. But here I have 10 goes into 20 2 times. So far so good? And then I do 2 times 3, that gives me 6. And over here, 20 goes into 20 once. 1 times 9 is 9.
so you divide,
Divide by the denominator. So I did 10 into 20, that's 2. And then you multiply by the numerator. Yeah, then I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So I'm going to get 20x equals 15. Divide both sides by 20. X is equal to 15 over 20, which is equal to 3/4. So you get the same answer, it's just that you're not working with any fractions essentially along the way. I can rearrange this if I want to make it look more clear. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to rewrite it by flipping it. So instead of being -5/4 is equal to 1/2 plus t, I'm going to write t plus 1/2 is equal to -5/4. You don't have to do that step though, but if it makes more sense for you to have letter number equals number, you can just change the order as long as you don't change any signs. Okay. Since it's plus 1/2, I'm going to subtract 1/2 from both sides. But again, I'm going to need a common denominator. So my common denominator is going to be 2, or I'm sorry, 4. So I'm going to multiply by 2. So that means t is going to equal -5/4 minus 2/4. I have -5 and -2, so t is equal to -7/4.
is there a reason you keep like going from this side to this side?
Wait. Take the same problem. And I'm going to multiply everything by the common denominator. Which is 4. So I'm going to have 4 times negative 5/4 is equal to 4 times 1/2 plus 4 times t. This 4 and that 4 will cancel each other out, essentially. And so I'll have 1 times negative 5, and that just gives me negative 5. 2 goes into 4 twice. 2 times 1 is 2. And then plus 4t. And then I can subtract 2 from both sides. And I get negative 7 is equal to 4t. And then I can divide by 4. And I get t is equal to negative 7/4. Okay, so you have a fraction times a variable equals another fraction. Okay, so the first method is to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So what I'm going to do is, I need to give myself a little bit more space. I'm going to multiply both sides by 5/4. Okay, and the reason I do this is because you know how we can cross cancel? Those cancel, and then these cancel, and I'm just left with x. Okay, on this side, 7 and 5 don't cancel, but the 2 and the 4 will. So x is 5/14. Okay. Okay. 4/5 x is the same thing as 4x/5. So I can rewrite it like this if I want to. And then I can cross multiply. I can do 4x times 7, that gives me 28x. And I can do 5 times 2, and that gives me 10. And then I can divide both sides by 28. So x will be 10/28, which will be the same as 5/14 because they divide by 2. Questions on that at all? Anybody want to see another one of these? Yeah? Everybody got this? Something that'll divide by 3. What method would you like to see? Both or just one or the other? Both? Okay. So I'm going to multiply by 5/3. Because these will cancel. And then I have 3 goes into 81 27 times. And then I do 27 times 5, so I can just write that down here. So it's 180. No, 185. 135, sorry. So I divided by 3 and then multiplied by 5. Or if I go the other route, I multiply both sides by 5 first, and I'm left with 3y, and that's going to equal 405. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and y is going to equal 135. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by -4. But instead of dealing with this, remember we talked about complex fractions yesterday, or Monday? We're going to rewrite that as -2/9 divided by -4. Because that's what we're doing. We're dividing it by -4. So that's going to be -2/9 times -1/4. Keep, change, flip, right? 1 and 9 won't cross cancel, but 2 and 4 will. And a negative times a negative is a positive. So I have 1 times 1 and 9 times 2. So again, we're going to divide both sides by this 2. But this format is really kind of useless to us. So I'll rewrite it as -3/5 divided by 2, which is the same thing as -3/5 times 1/2. And then I multiply. Negative times a positive is a negative, so I have 3 times 1 and 5 times 2. Okay, so we have multi-step equations with fractions. So if 3/4 x minus 1/3 is equal to 5/6. Now, I can either work with the fractions or I can clear the fractions. Any opinions on that? Clear them? Okay. So we'll clear the fractions. So we're going to multiply by the common denominator. I have a 4, a 3, and a 6. So I need a number that 4, 3, and 6 will all go into. Right, it's going to be 12. Okay, so I'm going to do 12 times 3/4 x minus 12 times 1/3 is equal to 12 times 5/6. Okay. 4 goes into 12 3 times. Bless you. And then 3 times 3 is 9. So I have 9x. 3 goes into 12 4 times, and then 4 times 1 is 4. So I have 9x minus 4. And then 6 goes into 12 twice, and I have 2 times 5, that's 10. So now I have 9x minus 4 equals 10. So then I'm going to add 4 to both sides to get that x by itself. So I have 9x equals 14. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 9. And x is going to equal 14/9. We don't want to clear the fractions. I'm going to add 1/3 to both sides. Yeah, but I need a common denominator, right? I'm gonna change that 1/3 by multiplying it by 2 and 2, so I'm gonna get plus 2/6. So I have 3/4 x is equal to 7/6. And then I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal to get rid of the 3/4. So this will give me x. 6 and 4 will cross cancel by 2. And I get 14/9.